Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to be talking about Tzeentch. Obviously they're a hot topic because of the Shadows of Change DLC, but we're going to talk about something a little bit different. You see, Tzeentch as a faction is functionally done. They have a little bit of everything. This is a mixture of Warriors of Chaos, Demons of Chaos, and very recently also the addition of some Beastmen stuff. This is funny in its own right because originally we were told through multiple statements that these are demon factions, not monogod factions, but hey, you know, things change. Because they've been mixed up, it is functionally done. We have so much of everything to fit a Tzeentchian theme faction. Hell, we even have some new units that weren't even on the tabletop, which is the Doom Knights of Tzeentch, something that we're very much expecting in Warhammer The Old World. Again, kind of going against what's been said in statements regarding the whole situation of they can't use Old World, or they won't use Old World. Now, Tzeentch, just like the rest of the factions in Shadows of Change, didn't really get a lot of fancy new toys. However, there's a few things that are missing, which is kind of disappointing that they're not being included. And in this video, I want to talk about just that. Now, keep in mind, a lot of stuff isn't really missing for Tzeentch. I've said this before, but yeah, the faction is pretty much done. But yeah, let's jump right in and talk about what's actually missing. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Chaos Lord and Exalted Hero of Tzeentch. These are the melee versions, not spellcasters. So I know a lot of people are going to be saying, well, the spellcasters themselves are more than capable of doing the job of a melee unit, but with added spellcasting. Which, yes, is fair, but the fact is that the melee versions should obviously be stronger in melee combat. It's not really a surprise there, right? On the tabletop, having a Tzeentch melee version was also very, very popular. It might surprise you to know, but a Tzeentch warrior army was not out of the question. It was actually fairly competitive too, mostly because they were very, very durable. You had them with halberd and shield, and they could do a lot of damage. The thing is, we already have baseline animations for the Chaos Lord and Exalted Hero, because other factions already have it, so all that would have been needed was a reskin here. Yeah, I know that's not the most exciting thing, but considering the fact that the Exalted Champion of Nurgle, for example, uses Sword and Shield, well, really, he should be using a Great Weapon. It's not really that much of a big deal for Tzeentch. A Sword and Shield is very much viable either way, and you could have mirrored the skill points from those that we already have, just obviously changing the Nurgle stuff or Khornate stuff to something more, well, Tzeentchian. Again, having reskins is not very exciting, I know, but having the option is better than not having an option because a lot of people like the variety. Especially that means that you could have a melee-focused Tzeentch army with Village if you so wanted to. As the decent thing about these DLCs, something that I can actually praise, is that they're affecting other races and factions too. We have seen, for example, the Zangors being available to the Beastmen, or the Cockatrice being available to the Warriors of Chaos. Something like that is very, very good here. Now, this next thing might be surprising because we already have a unit named that, the Exalted Flamer of Tzeentch. You see, back in the day on the tabletop, the Exalted Flamer was actually a hero option. And oddly enough, what Creative Assembly normally do is actually get the unit champion, which in fairness should have actually been the Pyromancer, to turn that into like an Exalted Demon version or a hero. The perfect example in Game 3 is actually the Iridescent Horror and pretty much any of the heroes for the Monogod factions, as those were unit champions for their respective units and then were elevated to hero status to give them a little bit of a difference, right? And this is something that could also work here. We could get the Pyromancer and turn it into a hero version of the Flamer, which would be stronger than the Exalted and have possibly even access to the Lore of Fire or the Lore of Tzeentch, or in a really cool way, it could have access to a mix of spells from both. It would still function like a Flamer, just being much stronger, so yes, doom stacking this would be entirely possible, and yeah, maybe boost up Flamer capabilities, range capabilities, be a support / heavy support type of hero, which can cast magic and also have a very powerful range attack. They're not really good at melee, so you'd want to keep them behind. And it would also be kind of nice to have some support stuff there. I know the Cultist is also there, but, you know, something stylized, something more demonic. The animation work has obviously been done because we do have the Flamers, and maybe they'll just need a few more just to give it a feel that it's casting, and there you go. Give it the mount option of getting a Burning Chariot too, so it could even be as fast as the Exalted Flamer, and yeah, a new hero option, which would be pretty hype. The fact is that, yeah, there's certain things that are just going to use baseline animations of other stuff, and just be improved upon. I mean, we're already kind of seeing that there. The Mutileth Vortex Beast does use animations of like the Stonehorn and stuff, so it's not really out of the question. What this could also be done is to further improve the Warriors of Chaos. Well, why not give the Cultists to the Warriors of Chaos? This could tremendously help out the Warriors of Chaos factions, because a village could have the Cultists of Tzeentch and have access to summons and so on. It also kind of fits with the theme, because cultists do generally follow the warriors factions. Really, all that's actually missing in terms of unique units is the Fireworm of Tzeentch, something that was mentioned in the 6th edition Hordes of Chaos book, but was also given some artwork thanks to the MMO Age of Reckoning. We don't really know too much about it other than the fact that it is just a gigantic chaos spawn of Tzeentch. One thing that was intended quite early on in like the lifespan of 6th edition was unique looking chaos spawn, large looking chaos spawn, which would have been really different for each of the Chaos Gods. And it kind of makes sense considering that, well, if you dedicate to Tzeentch and you turn into a spawn of Tzeentch, you're not just going to be a generic Chaos spawn with a blue hue, are you? You're going to have some mutations which are going to make you look rather Tzeentchian. Same thing can be said about Tzeentch, Khorne, and Nurgle. So this would have been a rather large creature, pretty much the size of a Mutileth Vortex Beast, more or less, and we know that it can spit blue fire. We know that it's also very good in melee. We thankfully have a very cool mod about that, but at the end of the day, this is something, pretty much the only unique thing that we're actually missing, which honestly is a bit of a shame considering that most of the stuff that was added in during Shadows of Change is actually undivided. Well, the Zangors are a Tzeentchian thing, but the Cockatrice and the Mutileth Vortex Beast, those are actually undivided creatures. The Mutileth Vortex Beast, we know of other people who have fallen and turned into something like that. Again, the Vortex Beast is another form of Chaos Spawn. There's actually a fair few amounts of different types of Chaos Spawn that were turned into a larger state. So yeah, there's not a lot missing, which in all fairness, all this stuff could have easily fit into the Shadows of Change Tzeentch side, just to finally finish off the Tzeentch faction, right? They could have even said this will finish off Tzeentch and maybe other characters in the future will be implemented through other forms. At least that's how I see it. We'll talk about characters in just a little bit. But yeah, you know, this is the padding that pretty much a few factions could have needed. Yes, there's some variants and stuff like that here and there, different weapon types, but really, yeah, this is literally the main stuff that's actually missing. Now, there are a few characters missing. Well, there's a lot of characters introduced for Chaos. The only problem is that a lot of them either didn't even have art or didn't have a miniature to represent them in any way, shape, or form. So the big ones are obviously Egrim Van Horseman, which, funny enough, if you do get your hands on this DLC itself, there are a lot of mentions of him. I'm not sure if Creative Assembly are just trying to hint towards the future, or they're just being cheeky because a lot of people were expecting Egrim. Amon Shakai is a Lord of Change, which, yeah, could be kind of cool if they could make him fairly unique. And there's obviously a few other characters, stuff that was introduced during the Storm of Chaos. There's not a lot. There's really not a lot. There's certainly not enough to be able to justify another Tzeentch DLC, that's very much for certain. And it's a little bit disappointing because obviously there's still a few key things kind of missing. So Creative Assembly are going to either have to start doing character packs to be able to introduce stuff like Egrim, or start bringing back FLCs with Lord and Hero variants as a way to say, well, sorry for the recent shit show. One thing is fairly certain, Creative Assembly need to start actually looking towards Warhammer The Old World. They've said many times that it's not going to happen, but I have a feeling that either one, they're lying, or two, they haven't even bothered to ask for the IP. And sometimes their argument does seem very fairly invalid when we start getting stuff like Doom Knights who weren't actually a thing. Yes, the name was used for the unit champion of the Warriors of Chaos on the Knights, but they don't really ride on discs of Tzeentch, so this is something new. Games Workshop even said this is a totally new unit. So it's something that we're likely going to expect in Warhammer The Old World. There's more stuff that we're expecting in Warhammer The Old World, so why can't that stuff be taken over and used as DLC? Long-term and short-term profits can be had here, because on the short term this gives CA more money, and obviously on the long term this gives Games Workshop the money because, well, those miniatures will eventually release and people will buy it. You know, it's just how it works. It's cross-promotion. I will be very honest with you, I very much doubt this whole we can't use Old World stuff, because Cathay and Kislev are armies for Warhammer The Old World. So yeah, which one is it? Creative Assembly need to be a lot more transparent there. Is it just that Cathay and Kislev were special exemptions, or they're just giving us half-truths, kind of like, again, they're not monogod factions, they're demon factions with a little bit of flavor. Sorry, but it's one of these things where I just do not like being lied to. It's better saying nothing than actually just responding with a lie. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think about this situation, about Tzeentch, and let's have a bit of a discussion. Let me know in the comments below, and yeah, have a great day, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon. I should be streaming the Changeling today because I'm kind of tired of Yuan Bo. Let's be honest, he's very broken given the recent mechanics with the caravans, so I want to switch things up and I want to play a little bit of Chaos.